What is up, guys? Today I want to talk to you about 5 things that you should be doing when you're shooting video. And don't worry, I'm not going to mention anything like story is king and prioritize story or anything like that you've heard so many times before. The idea for this one is that I'm hoping you've heard none of these 5 things before, and once you have heard these 5 things, you're going to use them almost every single time that you actually head out and shoot video. So let's get into these tips. I want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor of the video, which is Storyblocks, for supporting this channel and allowing me to create the videos that we do. But more on that later. First thing that I want to talk to you guys about is, have you ever noticed on that little dial on top of your camera, there's those little numbers as one of the modes available to be shooting in? Well, those are customizable numbers and most cameras these days have them. If you guys don't have those numbers on a dial, or you don't have that dial on top of your camera, oftentimes you can go somewhere into the menu and still set up custom little modes that you guys can use. And something that's really great about this is you can set the different settings that you would like to use to each one of those different numbers on that mode dial, and when you're out shooting in the real world, you can quickly switch between them to jump to the settings that you want to use for that particular scene. So for example, on my Sony a7 III, I have a number 1 and a number 2 on that dial. And how I have mine set up is, number 1 I have set to 4K resolution and 24 frames per second. So whenever I'm shooting anything like this, what you're watching right now, or any vlog style stuff, I will have it in number 1. But when I'm walking around and shooting and maybe talking to the camera, and all of a sudden I want to get some B-roll and some really nice slow motion, I can flick that dial over into number 2, and I have it preset to have that at 1080 resolution and 120 frames per second. So now all of a sudden I can get that really nice slow motion, and I can flick between them the whole time without having to change my settings in the menu or anything like that. And it streamlines your whole workflow and process. And when you guys are filming out in the world, you'll be able to really quickly switch between those 2 modes and not worry about any fuss of the menu or anything like that. You can do so much more with these settings. Not only your frame rate and resolution can be changed with each one of these modes, you can change everything. So while I change my frame rate, it automatically changes my shutter speed to keep that 180-degree shutter rule that's going to be double my frame rate. So when I pop it over into 24 frames per second, all of a sudden my shutter speed is automatically at 1/50. And when I switch it over to that 120 frames per second, my shutter speed jumps up to 250 to match, and I never have to worry about it. You can just pop that dial over, shoot some B-roll, pop it back over to the other one, shoot some vlogging of yourself, no worries, it really works out well. The second thing we're going to be talking about is something to do with your composition. And when you guys are looking for composition in your shots, it's important to notice that weight can affect how your composition looks, and it's important to get a balanced image. Some things can have a heavier weight than others. For example, shadows and darker colors are much heavier than something like highlights and lighter colors. So if you have a nice composition, but everything on the one side is really dark, it might be unevenly weighted and might look weird. So it's important to look out for this weight when you are trying to get composition in your shots. Here's the cool part, because that's not actually the tip. The tip is, when you guys are looking for the shot and you're trying to figure out where the weight might be, something that helps so much is if you actually squint your eyes and you make it all blurry, it makes it way easier to see where the weight is going to be. And if you have some like really saturated areas in your frame, it's going to be much more obvious to you where those really saturated areas are and where the other areas with less saturation or more darkness or more highlights might be. So give it a try. If you're looking for your shot, squint and see how the shot changes and how it looks differently. You can also look through your viewfinder so that you can isolate where your frame might be and then do the squinting. Do you have to walk around and squint your eyes and things and maybe look like a complete idiot? yeah, you kind of do, but it really does work. How many of you guys are sitting in your bedrooms right now, squinting your eyes, looking around the room, trying to figure out where's super saturated? I don't know, I thought that would be funny, but yeah, give it a try. It really is a cool little trick, and you'll see it actually does work. And when you blur it out like that, you'll be able to see the parts of your image that do hold more weight and that are more saturated than others. Number 3 is going to be having a plan as to what you actually want to shoot. Like, it's way too easy to just head out super excited and start shooting everything that you see that looks like semi-cool or anything that's of slight interest. But it's important to have a bit of a plan before you actually start shooting. And you don't need to have anything crazy like a big storyboard or like have this detailed script of what you want to be shooting in your video. But it is a good idea to have a vague idea of how you want your video to actually look and how you want that finished product to really turn out, because that's going to help a lot when you're filming your video to know what's important to capture and what isn't worth spending your time on. It's all too easy to film like 100 shots and be super busy and spend hours filming, but you've got 100 shots that aren't really the shots that you need for that project, rather than having 3 shots that are the exact shots that you're gonna need. And it would have been a lot more time efficient to just film those 3 shots as well. And this also brings me to the sponsor of today's video, which is Storyblocks. Storyblocks is a stock website for motion graphics, stock footage, and sound effects. Even if you guys do come up with a plan, it's bound to happen eventually that you do forget a pivotal shot for your story, or maybe it's just not really plausible to get that shot. This is where Storyblocks can really help you guys. If you are ever looking for that extra shot, maybe it's a really big, wide, establishing shot to show where you are, or it's some crazy drone shot, maybe it's a really close-up shot of some waves to go with that B-roll section you filmed on the beach. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense for you to film it yourself, but you can hop over onto Storyblocks and they are going to be able to help you out. Storyblocks has a massive library of over 1 million assets and have stock video of almost anything you can think of. When you sign up for Storyblocks, you pay a small monthly subscription and get unlimited downloads. So you can add as many assets to your videos as you can possibly imagine, all for just that 1 monthly fee. If you haven't already, head over to storyblocks.com and sign up today. I will link it down in the description because I really do think it's an amazing platform for content creators like you and I. A great way to stay on track when you guys are filming a bit of a sequence, and a way to help you come up with a little bit of ideas and to make sure that you're filming the right shots for that sequence, is to attach a certain emotion to that scene that you're filming. And basically what this does is it allows you to make a lot of other decisions in accordance with that emotion that you attach to the scene that you're busy with. So for example, if you're filming someone walking out on a beach or something like that, you need to ask yourself, is this like a happy scene, or is this a sad scene, or something like really intense? Because once you figure that out about that section that you're filming, all of the other decisions that you need to make about that, even things like the shots that you're gonna get, can be affected by it. So for example, if you decide it's a really happy scene, all of a sudden now when you're filming someone walk out onto that beach, you can direct that model to maybe walk in like a happier way. They can be a little more bouncy and skipping, maybe they can be running and dancing. The music that you're gonna select for that video is gonna be completely different, and even things like your camera angles can be subjective to the mood that you attach to that scene. So if you decided you were maybe gonna attach a sort of sad connotation to that scene, you might get your model to do different body language, like crossing their arms instead of that happy dancing, and your shots might be something more like showing the face and showing them deep in thought, or maybe kind of looking down instead of like looking out into the world and like being more of like open to their surrounding area. So figuring out what emotion you want to attach to that scene before you start shooting it is really gonna help you when you get to any points where you need to start making decisions about what you need to be doing to shoot that scene. The fifth thing we're going to talk about is picking the right time of day for the locations that you're going to be shooting at. I'm sure all of you guys have heard about shoot at golden hour when the sun is really nice and low, like similar to how it is right now, but we don't always have the luxury of having that option. And sometimes you need to film more than one location in that same day, so you can't cram them all into that last hour where the sun is golden and the light is good. And that means that you need to prioritize which location works better at what time of day. So you'll notice often with my videos, if I'm shooting something outdoors, I will always have 2 different locations in my videos. And I will always do my best to decide which location is going to work better for when the sun is much more harsh and it's more of that like horrible midday light that you never really want to have on your face or anything, and then which location is going to work better for later on in the day, for that golden hour or for that sunset. So when you're thinking of your first location and something for that really harsh light, what I like to look for is somewhere where there's going to be a lot of shade. Maybe it's in a forest or somewhere in the city where there's going to be big buildings casting those shadows. You basically just want to have areas where you can hide into shade and avoid getting that direct, hard, contrasting light straight onto your face, because that's really undesirable for any person and it's really not going to be a flattering look. Swap them around to make sure that you're going to the right one at the right time of day. It's really going to help you guys. It's going to make those locations look even better when they're in their optimal light, and it's something that's really simple but can be hugely effective. That's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope those 5 tips were helpful, and I hope they will make a difference next time you guys are filming out in the world. Remember to check out story blocks. They are going to be linked down in the description. They truly are an amazing platform for creators like you and I highly recommend you guys go and check them out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. That's it. Oh.